Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra,
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people.
associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked.
and sometimes what didn't,
You will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts.
And inspire you to do even greater things.
This conversation happened between two PM Parians, the guest, Raja, a coder for life, and Shivaguru, the host. Imagine a profession or a way of working where you can liberally make mistakes, and each time you do that, you only get better. What's in a role or title? From where did this phrase full stack developer originate? I mean, does it even make sense? After all, an end user needs software tools to do their job successfully, and that can mean interacting with several parts of a system. So it's almost like asking someone who bought a car, which part of the car do you use? No? And then imagine you're playing the final of a cricket tournament for your state or country, and your captain comes up and says, I want you to bowl this over. And you say, I'm not a bowler, can you ask someone else? And by now, if you're wondering what on earth this episode is all about, listen on and find out for yourself.
Hi Raja, welcome to the Software People Stories.
Do we have an asset equals true from me? Echo joined. Asset equals true.
Okay. Yeah. We want to start with your origin story. How you got interested in software or how you got into software, and then what has been happening all these days.
So I'm not really a Bill Joy who went to the Princeton University lab, I believe, where he find this beautiful piece and he spent hours and hours of time. It is, again, I was one of the dullest person in my class when it comes to software development. I am taking this opportunity to thank two of my school teachers who tried their best to tell me whatever, how to write a software first. So I take this opportunity. One Mr. Venkadeshan, he has to go out of the mid of the semester. He has to go out because of personal reason, I believe, or because of the flowcharts of what I draw to just to show him that when he asked me to, he explained beautifully what is the how to compare two numbers. So normally every flow chart in every school kids, they have to go through this thing. Given three numbers, which number is the biggest number, or which number is the minimum number. So he tried his best to introduce the concept of temp to, so you can keep the min somewhere and then you give iteration that you can come. So it's all interesting now. But he asked me to find what is the smallest number among the five numbers. So I submitted him a complete flow chart of some 20 pages, I believe. I think that is the last day that I saw him. Then later I heard from the headmaster that he cited personal reason that, okay, I cannot take this class. I guess that he got some opportunity because I am the first to get into the computer science when it was introduced in Tamil Nadu. I think I am the first batch, I believe. So then I am thankful to my second teacher. He is living in Chennai. His name is Kalyan Raman. He was not directly associated with the school, but he helped a group of members at in Sivagangai. During his free time, he used to teach us how to write software because, first of all, access to computer during those times is it's next to impossible. So with the limited time that what he had, he spent enormous amount of time, especially from the evenings from 6 to 8, without even getting a penny from me. He taught how to write software. I learned to some extent during those times. That's how it starts. So whatever good thing that what I am doing today is all it is going to these two great gurus. And in fact, I cannot remember any other person other than these two names in my life who I consider as a guru to me in computer science. So one is Mr. Venkadeshan, another one is Mr. Kalyan. This is how it starts. And then I went to NIIT at Madurai. I believe it is 1993. Then all of a sudden they started getting the concepts of how to write really a sensible code. So it's because of just hard work, I believe, or it is just a timing.
So after that, what has kept you in IT so long?
Very simple. Basically, I like experiments. So whether it is a chemistry or physics or anything, I like doing things rather than reading a lot of books. So this is the only one thing where I can do a lot of tests and I make that to fail. And the failure here is not considered as an offense. You can write as many failing tests. You can do as many failing experiments here. So whenever you are screwing up with the experiment, we are learning a lot out of that thing. So which I am using that for the next thing. So how not to write a software is when I'm writing a bad software especially during my time, it's not considered as a criminal waste. But whereas if you take the other kind of engineering, for example, I cannot afford to do this in electronics or in mechanical engineering, I believe. So for example, if I'm doing a test first approach in mechanical engineering, let me try to do this thing first, a motor, and then we will try to put a wrong connection. The cost of failure is considered as very expensive over there. So here, if I write a code, then I can fully write the entire program and I can start writing the entire program in a different way. So that's the reason why a dull head like me also is able to write softwares. And that's one of the reasons why, the other engineering divisions are very lucky that they cannot have a person like.
That's interesting. When you learned IT or software concepts from teachers, you are as an individual.
Mm.
And then when you said, no, yeah, you're continuing, it is because you like to do experiments, solve things and all that. But many times, software is not written only by one person.
Correct.
Or at least the software that is used ultimately, even if you write everything, it works with some other software.
Correct.
So when did that transition or realization happen, and what was the impact of that?
So there are multiple things that it's a very great question. That one is that I worked extensively with one of my friends, Mr. Krishnan, during majority of my time. So, and myself, I try to consider myself as 3 or 4 avatars. It's everything. So as we used to work in the nights. So I consider myself that when I am working on one thing, and then I will ask the other person to work on the other thing, and then we have a lot of other people. And as it was not a very distributed thing, as all of us are in the same room, I believe. So the exchange of ideas are very great. I guess is it what you are asking? I do not know. But at the same time, committing a code into Git repository and letting another person to take up this programming to interface. And having a protocol between two people, let me do an implementation for this and creating a mock for you. All these things, it's just we just learned this concept organically. So I think I can say that working with the distributed teams, it starts really only after 2002 for me. So until this time, all my works were silos, or that involve one or two person along with me, or a max of around not more than 4 members. So then we find it really interesting that how we can really, so because that's what the separation of concern, right? So we consider separation of concern. Later, we find that there's a name for that. So when I am working on something, that I'll put my full energy to make that the better thing, considering that the another component will give me this particular behavior. Then we have to wear a different hat, and then we'll get into that component, and then we start build those things. So now this is all these things as we have practiced without even this kind of a written protocol. Now these things are considered as a very interesting things, or it has been viewed as a very complex things. So for me, the transition from working as a silo to head of a very big division, or I'm not saying that it is a very a great phenomena for me. It just happened as I was part of that entire journey. I could not. One day when you're asking me this question, I could see. Thanks for again the question. That some transition really happened there, but I am not aware of these things that the transition really happened to me until I hear this question.
Yeah, I have a follow-on question, but before that, since you mentioned from an individual contributor heading a division, what has been your career or professional trajectory? What did you start as, and then what were the changes that you went through? What all have you done, and what are you doing now?
This will be a little bit controversy. So anyway, as you ask this question, the roles are something that has been given in the visiting card to pacify someone. So for example, if you see my LinkedIn profile, and I put I am a servant at KRS Code. So at the end of the day, we are all programmers. That's how I would like to be, and I would like to end the career. So until the last time, I want to do coding. So programmer is the only one role that what I am doing. So and then we are having different designations are all just for the sake of convenience and also to manage the bandwidth, in my opinion. For example, some of my friends may, upon hearing this podcast, okay, so let me get it. So, for example, the terminology business analyst is something that is very weird for me when I first hear that. What is a business analyst? There will be a person who will go and talk to the customer. He will collect their requirements. And why should he or she should go? Why cannot I go and have a first-hand information about the problem? No, no, you are an architect. An architect should know the business. And without knowing the business, how can someone will design the right system? No, they understand the business better than you. So that's a myth again. So they are thinking that a technical person is someone who should not understand the business, or his ability to understand business is very limited. And these are the people who just know about how to do coding. And that is the first thing that was very shocking to me when I was getting into the employment, because majority of my time I worked as really I worked as a programmer. So me and SK, we started our organization. We treated everyone as our own partners. We never show that we are the boss, and I treat both the peon as well as that's not just a designation. It's very not fair to call someone as the assistant or a peon or a boss or something. Everyone is adding some values to the way that we are delivering something to the customer. So that is one thing. So then come the great roles and the great designations, like this person should do only this thing and this person should do only this thing. So in my opinion, everyone should know. Everyone, at the end of the day, we are delivering a code, and that code should be clean. And I can deliver a code only if I have a promise. And I can deliver the better code only if I know what the business requires, because I am not a system programmer, like developing an operating system, or I am not a TCP/IP a protocol designer. So what is there in the 7 layers? So those are all that's an entirely different pedigree. I belong to an application developer, so I should know where this product will be get applied to. So that is what my simple view about this thing. So if you take the career trajectory, whether it is a tragedy or a trajectory or whatever it is, it's all programming. So code. I love to do coding, and that should create something very useful for the community. So if someone is telling that I do not know business and I know only technology here, that I really suspect that whether what he is developing or what he is end of the day delivering. I want this both of them should go hand in hand.
Interesting. I can fully relate to this label on the card because I also believe in that. I said, no, whether you call yourself a junior software engineer or VP and all that, it is an organizational thing. And when you are meeting, whether it is a customer or somebody outside, it is about what you can do for them. It doesn't matter what your title is. So I always used to have some roles which were probably unique or the first time in the organization. When I was forming one group, I said I wanted to call my group Cooperating Solutions Group. So I used to have a lot of debate, and people will ask, oh, cooperative society. No, it is not cooperative, it is cooperating solutions. It is not just one thing. You need some things that will all talk together, that will all work together. So that is what we will give you. So at least it was a conversation starter. And then every time people will say, I want a different designation. Can you suggest something? I said, it is not a designation. It is just that you put anything in the role. In fact, most of the time, my card will not have any title or role. It is just my name. And then we'll see what we can do, how we can work with each other. So that brings me to the next question. The moment you say that you also want to be a business analyst, you also want to be an architect in those roles, right? It is essentially about understanding somebody else's problem and solving it. So is there a Raja methodology or a Raja approach? How you would internalize the problem, or how you would go and identify a solution or architect a solution?
There is no such formula. I'm just copying from all my forefathers, whatever they did. There is no such Raja's trademark of providing a solution. Of late, when it comes to this latest Kanban, especially, we had a lot of discussion about the Kanban and all. It gives me different ways in which we can have a better Scrum or a better Agile methodology. So again, this is all just my opinion. and that may strike out of controversies outside. So everyone is having this. So if there are hundreds of people are saying yes to something, there will be one person having the courage to refute that. Okay, this can. So it is not that I am against those things. It's not refuting things. Rather, how we can do that better. For example, there are several people who are using nowadays the assembly line. They are thinking that software engineers are assembly, equating that to an assembly line where someone will create battery and someone will create wheels and someone will take care of the chassis and they put all these things at some place and then they'll assemble at various places. Finally, it is becoming a car. But if you think that is it the way that we are really developing softwares, and I guess it is not that most of the times we are not developing a software in this ways. That someone will give us a component and someone will give us a component. I cannot create a software like that. Probably it may. There are people who maybe this Google is giving this API, Amazon is giving this API. Whether guys are giving some API. I'm creating a Flutter app. I'm consuming these APIs, and then I'm building an application, and then I am giving out. So where definitely they can think of following this kind of an assembly line kind of a technique. Whereas you taught me the other day that if you reduce in order to have a reduced cycle time, you can reduce the number of work in progress or the number of items in the work in progress. If you reduce that, then probably everyone will look. And there won't be an ideal time, so that if I am doing something and then someone will go and do another time during those things, so all of them will be focused to deliver something. That's a very great idea. So again, that is not my idea. These are the ideas like great people who are teaching me. So how can I say that this is my idea? But what I can do is that there are I can suggest certain ways in which this can be further improved. So still I cannot take it that I am the discoverer of that idea or inventor of that idea. So at places where it is, and coming back to a previous question, because it is in line with what we discussed earlier, that another interesting role that what we have, forget even about the business analyst, the another interesting role is a tester. So there will be a person who, that's the first time when after we closed our business in Coimbatore, then we moved to Chennai. When I went to a corporate joined there with a designation architect, and told that there is a vice president quality is wants to meet you. I'm sorry that to tell that. And then I realized really I was such a fool that there is a separate department called as a test exclusively for testing. That someone will develop software and there will be someone who will test that, and that is their separate division altogether. They are not related to the mainstream software developer. That was another shocking thing for me, because I guess I am the first to face all these things. Or there were not good friends who really told me, and good in the sense that SK is one of my best friend, but both of us are so innocent that okay, this is the way that we have to do software. But that is what finally everyone is doing today. But during those time when we have really opposed this, that why a tester is required for this, the entire company has started shouting at me, then what these guys, so they can also do software and they can help me in creating this thing. That is what finally the whole world is now telling that okay, we don't want a separate community called as testers, and we don't want separate communities called as business analysts. The programmer should do this thing and then he do this thing. This is what we had told several years before, but we didn't have a brand like McKinsey or someone. So they have literally discarded these ideas. But I'm very happy today. Again, this is not our idea. The industry learned that, okay, this is the way that we can do things better. So again, getting back to this, the division of labor. So the division of labor is, again, we are getting into this thing. It's a very interesting topic. That is, the division of labor is created, in my opinion, that it's not because that I am unable to do this job and I am asking someone to do this job. For example, your years of experience is, I think it is, I guess you have more than 10 years of experience than me. So when you are entrusting a job to me, it is an indication that Raja, I am busy, or I am giving you this opportunity, you do this. And then I can pick it because I am into something else. And then you are asking me to do this. It does not mean that Shoguru does not know how to do this job and he is asking Raja to do this job. That is the time all the problems are starting. It is not because of someone's inability. It is because of giving space to someone. that how together we can get into it. So here, I'm not saying that testers are bad. I mean that testers are not bad. The testing, seeing that as a separate division, someone else's responsibility is bad. They are part and parcel of the entire thing. So one day they will help me in doing the testing. The next day I will go and test their component with what they have created. In case if because instead of I'm getting into my safe sector in those time when Java introduced this another comedy that enterprise Java bean, and there will be some breed of people who will claim themselves that no, we will do only the server side coding and we will never get into the JSP or the front. So this new jargons itself was very troubling for me during those times. What is the server side, what is the client side, everything is actually delivered from the same system. And it took a lot of time really to digest this fact that there is a separate breed of people who will write only the session beans and will take care of the entity beans. They won't touch anything in the JSP. Then again, the question asked that why when all of them is being served from the same system, and what is the problem for this person? He is idle. Why he cannot go and do certain things in the JSP? No, he's a service side guy. He will give you only those APIs. The JSP guys has to just consume this API. What he will do until this JSP guys, or still it is person, they will read lot of blogs and then they will read lot of other things. They'll equip themselves for this thing at the cost of someone else's money. So that might be one of the reasons for the dot-com bust, I believe. So everyone is responsible in the entire value chain, and everything should be. So now we are having different names for the common thing that what we had some 20 years before. Full stack developer. What is it? Full stack developer. Developer is a developer. What is it? Full stack developer, half stack developer, so like half blood. So these are new terminologies that what I have started hearing. So in my humble opinion is that there is one person who will shield us from the external disturbances so there should be some moderator and otherwise this small developers, they'll get bullied when changes are coming in whatever fashions that is possible. So we need a person who took the middle ground not to disturb these people. We call him as a whatever role you ask him, you call him as a servant leader or a scrum master or anyone who has the capacity to talk to the product owner. Okay, is it fair asking this requirement now? Can we take this later? No, if there is a business, it involves some decision because we have to accommodate some changes, and accommodating the changes is what is very important, because if this feature is not reaching the market on the time, or if it has some bug, then everyone has to work on this to ensure that it is being delivered. So that is what every different phenomena like Scrum or Lean or everything is doing. And coming back to the adding value to the chain of Lean is that other day, it just struck me that instead of we are telling the waterfall model in the same way that someone would do the design as one of the swim lane and the development as one more swim lane, testing as one more swim lane, what we can do is that mock is a very great idea. That nowadays, whether every language supports mock. That's what test-driven development. When you want to defer taking some decision, we can create a layer of mock, and then I can start work on this. Again, it is going to Dijkstra that it is a separation of concern. I'm just deferring making any decision on this until I'm getting more information about this. So I simply put that as a mock, and then the mock will act like whether it's a mock or a stub. We don't want to get into the details now. So it will act like a answering machine. So it will, whatever question I ask that, then it will have a predefined answer. It will give me that answer. It will mimic as if that particular component is there. So but that component is very, very important for me for completing this entire use case, for example. So during those times, instead of I'm taking some other requirement, if there is a repository of mock, some of my code developer. So this is what when I was working with Santanagishn, we did. Santanagishn knows what I want. I know what SK required. So what we'll do is that I will develop this code. SK, you just take care of this, and then I'll cost another 2 or 3 other people. And then can you please just to do this, and then we work on this. Though when they are having some dependency, they'll tell me that, okay, this is what you can do for me. So that is what actually we are trying to achieve in the morning Scrum meeting. So if we have this dependency rather than through this verbal communication in a morning Scrum meeting, what we can alternatively that what we can do is that whatever dependencies that we have, we can create this in the form of a mock, and we can have a separate layer of mock there. So one of the great people used to do is that when they run this test case, it will just throw an unsupported operation exception or kind of thing in Java. But we can do the same thing in Rust in a different way by making that panic when that particular component is not really implemented. So instead of I'm taking one more thing, because now my job is done, there is nothing that I can go and participate in testing this particular use case. Now I have some free time. Then first what I'll do is that I'll search for, before taking some other requirement, I'll search for if there is any mock for which I have to implement something. I can take that mock, I can complete this thing. So this way, the amount of work, the quantities that what we are having in the work in progress that can be drastically reduced. Thereby, it will increase your velocity of the throughput, and then you can accelerate the things to the thing. So to summarize, if it is a very small team, it is through the verbal communication we can convey our idea of the dependence. You don't take some entirely different use case just to help me so that I can give it tomorrow, so that the people can start using this tomorrow, and then they can give the feedback to me, rather than I am giving 4 items to one person to get the feedback. So it is again we can keep on supplying them that small units for which a feedback is required for me. So this is a simple idea. I'm not again claiming that this is an idea that is created by me, and people are already doing all these things.
Yeah, very nicely put. But actually, the problem is not about everybody inventing their own methodology or approach. Obviously, we are building on proven techniques or proven approaches that are there. But at the same time, as you were describing this, one analogy that was crossing my mind was, say, a concert. You have different artists coming together. Sometimes the violinist is an accompanying person, or maybe the main performer. It's the same violin, but what one does is probably slightly different. Or if it is a vocal concert, particularly a Carnatic concert, you have a strict protocol. When somebody takes the lead, when they kind of complement each other, when there's more than one, let's say, accompanist. You have violin, you have mridangam, you have ghatam, you have something else. And how they establish that communication and are all in sync. Because ultimately, it has to sound well. It may be a song that so many people have played before. It may be a song somebody else has written. It may be the same ragam that everybody knows. But still, that performance is about all of them coming together and delivering. So when you mentioned the example of you and SK or somebody else trying to pick something up and all that, it appeared as if, you know things, you are following some conventions or some ways by which you are working together in a similar manner. But one thing that has always baffled me is, how do you get team to work like this?
That's a tribe, I believe. So we call this as a tribe. The way the team accustomed to this thing is that when they are just learn from what their peers are doing. So if they are associated with the right tribe, they learn all the things that what they are doing. So first of all, the thing is that they should first admit that it's so now we are calling about the slicing a use case. So if you ask someone to write a book about how to slice a use case, then they'll just put all their experience. So if you have to start learn each and everything like how to slice a use case, is that you just put them into the swimming pool. They know how to swim. So the only lesson or the only thing that what your team needs to learn when we are putting the person in the team is that how to tell the dependency to the others with courage. So dependency is not that I'm unable to do certain things, as I told already, that I know so the team should respect each other. So the respect is what the central core of everything. When someone is asking to me to do certain things, I should understand that the reason why they are asking is that they are busy with something and they want to put more energy into that to make that into a good thing. So in the meanwhile, we have, as you rightly pointed out, normally when a Carnatic musician is going, when he is elaborating a Kalpana Swaram, he is giving a room for let us take the, the between our Madurai Maniyer and T.N. Krishnan. This combination is the one thing that I like a lot. So it is not just T.N. Krishnan won't repeat what his answer will be a little bit subtle, and it will be at par with Madurai Maniyer. And Madurai Maniyer many times he will just allow this person go. So that is it doesn't mean both of them have that respect to each other. So they know their boundaries. So when he is asking him to do certain things, it is, there will be a small thing that when you are hearing certain things through the violin, that will be more nice. It will dissolve your soul. So when you are seeing, when you are hearing Madurai Maniyar's voice again at places when there is no violin, so again it will take you to a different thing. And then adding to all these colors, then we have our Palakkad Maniyar who will also come and then he will add other more flavors. So it's a very so it's every person is doing their job. So we call this as Anusaranai. There won't be any ego and there will be a lot of respect. And when people in a team started respecting each other, when how can I go and help this person and how can I ask this thing to other thing, and this person is not going to think that okay, he is coming to me because he is unable to do that. If that particular thing stops there, that is what I saw at many places, and I try to eliminate as a leader of the team on many occasions, that everyone brings their own ideas to the team, and we have to give them space to do that. And in 2 or 3 months, probably the team will become a better performing team. And the secret sauce of delivering high quality software is that the respect, and I can boldly ask and with courage that can you please just do this for me, and the courage to do what they are asking. In case if it's not switching or switching the context. When that is very important, all of us will go and will help him. And not that you are getting an idea today, is it? It doesn't mean that that person is not getting that idea then. So you got an idea because you saw this similar kind of a pattern previously somewhere. So at many times, very juniors in team, they used to give out of the box ideas to me. So that will solve very complex problems. That what so yesterday is going to be an episode during this week in my trust session. So for the last 3 days, I was working on a very interesting problem. Anyway, that is going to become there is no suspense. It is about a rover. A rover has to go and find a destination. So the rover will have a lot of degrees of freedom of north, east, west. So it's what they call as a Mars rover, but that is not the one that we are going to do. So when there is a lot of degrees of freedom, so I started creating an algorithm that it will go and check that in various degrees of freedom and before it is reaching the destination. So simply, it took around I learned a lot of things. That kind of ego, that is what is stopped me from thinking from a very simple thing. So how normally we will go from one place to another place. We have this intrinsic quality that we have to reduce the shortest. We have to follow the shortest time. So instead of creating a binary tree of the various possible paths and how to again travel the binary tree in the breadth first approach and depth first approach and from reverse and all these things, because this is all again Vidya Garva. So I know what is binary tree and I know what's not a binary tree, it's an even unbalanced tree. And we'll start put the different states there and then we can travel that in different ideas. So simple thing is that again, what is the 10th that what we did is a Pythagoras. Okay, you find the distance from this thing to the destination at various places, and you try to follow the one that is the shortest one. So when you are going the direction, so all the various permutation combinations vanishes from there. You have one thing from this source to this destination. There is one shortest path. Now, if we have to give a different name for this, now we can give some fancy name that what is the nearest neighborhood algorithm. So there's nothing but there are from one place to another place, there can be 3 or 4 options. One of them will be the minimum distance. So you try to follow that way. So once if you get into this thing, probably if I'm working in a team, a junior just who came from the engineering college probably would have you without knowing any of the binary trees and the linked list and all these things. Sir, I have learned something in the 10th standard, sir, that is called as if you take that hypotenuse of from this position to here, root of x squared plus y squared, so that will be the shortest thing, sir. We cannot be going this way without knowing anything about this thing. That's the solution for that. So that is the power of a team where you have all the different kinds of people, but we have to give space for them so that they, with courage, they will tell you that, okay, this can be approached in a better way. Then you asked a question, I went in an extremely tangential direction.
No, it was like a hypotenuse. You came to the point. Yeah, I also didn't realize how much time we've already spent. We normally try to keep the episodes short. So there are a lot of topics that we can probably catch up at a later time. But I like to conclude this conversation with one of my favorite questions. Based on your experience, it is more about giving advice for 2 categories of people. One, somebody who is considering, probably a student, getting into IT. And second is somebody who is going through, say, a midlife kind of a crisis, saying that, oh, should I continue to be a techie or should I be a manager? What would your advice be for both of them?
You know the answer for the second question, what I will tell. That is,
yeah, I want to know your answer. Yes. Our listeners may not know.
Again, there is no such a thing called as a manager or a techie. This is a IT, that is called as information technology. There is only one person who is a programmer. Again, manager is again a provision that we have made to reduce the amount of time that a programmer is interacting with a product owner. You call him as whatever this is. Even I think we have to give opportunity for everyone in the team to act like a manager. So okay, this week you be the client-facing person, take care of all these things, and then allow the programmers to work on this thing. So why someone has to manage a team, whether he's managing the client or managing the programmers, I do not know. Why the programmer should be managed or why the client needs to be managed. So are they horse? That's what the famous Dr. Hegde of Kannada, he's from Bangalore. He told that the root word of managing is that it is a handle that what you are trying for the horse. That's what it is. So I hate that idea of managing a team. So don't become a manager. Be a programmer. So it is the IT industry, in my opinion, is the only industry. If you go to a hospital, and no one will proud of saying that I stopped coding some 10 years before. So a doctor won't say that, no, I am a surgeon. I stopped doing surgeries some 10 years before. Now I am only managing the kind of stuff. So that's so here it is a fashion, and I hate that to the core. So that is the thing. So I hate the word manager in IT industry. Everyone is a programmer. That is for those people who are getting into the software, as I told already, but in a different note, is that this is the only industry where your errors are your friends. So in other industry, when you commit a mistake, for example, still I believe that the external examiner of when I was doing my physics, he reduced marks because I burnt a Zener diode in the final experiment thing. So experiment is only to burn things, right? So that's what I don't know whether I just directly connected the diode to something that burned this thing. So you had to put it. Then I rediscovered that okay, we had to put a rheostat in front of this to reduce the amount of current. But anyway, he reduced the mark reduced. That's it. So there is no. So that is so. Even if it is just for Zener diode, I believe it is just not even one rupee now. I believe, but he reduced all the marks. But what will happen in case if they put me into the mechanical division? So this, so that the difference is there. I want to quote this from Surely Was Working Fine Man. So where they used to do an experiment at the ground floor that had a lot of all the thesis paper. So the advisor who is the head of that institution, he used to tell that don't do an experiment here. You do all the experiments only at this first floor. Okay, so one day they did an experiment and there was an accident that spoiled all the papers at whatever they had created. So this person came with full anger and told, this is the reason I am telling you that you don't do this experiment here. You do all the experiments in the first floor. So again, the reason why we are having a great person like Richard Feynman is that he has been encouraged for the experiments that that society gave him. So anyway, in no other industry has the luxury of allowing someone to do the experiment. So for the early person or for mid-crisis or even for this thing, in one of the episodes I told that the creators of any language for that matter, if you take my latest passion about Rust programming, they are giving a lot of suggestions through the errors. So errors are not, they are just because it is in red mark, that doesn't indicate that it is really an error. There is a suggestion that can be done in a better way. So create as many errors as possible. So that is the best way that we can go to the right code. So if I never give an advice to someone, when you are seeing someone else's code, that code has been written for around some 15 days or 20 days. When you are just seeing that on the first day, you'll see that, oh, wow. So they are thinking that the code is something that they can go and dive into that solution. It has been progressively evolved with the test that is driving the design. So even when I used to see my code, after some 1 year, I used to admire myself. It is just as self-admiration. What a great code that we have written. But the whole process that matters. It's no one will write the best code on the first day, or even experienced person. It is progressive. It will get evolved. We create a lot of for loop, if, all these things. So then we try to reduce the indent. Then we'll have the single indent code. So the code is evolved. When we are seeing something that is already evolved from a monkey to a man, so we always admire that, okay, this has been built on the first day itself. It's not the way. So the thing that what I learned here is that the best code is possible only after several iterations of bad code, errors, bad code, better, bad code. Finally, you get the right code there. So this is again some of my not advice to this the freshers or to someone. I am just giving advice to those people who are examining these guys, the great companies who are doing some interviews, thinking that can you please just give me an algorithm for the traveling postman or traveling salesman, how this kit can provide. So it is something they are expecting that this person has to memorize every lines and then they have to just warm it in an interview. That is not possible. Just to give them the time, just to give them the system to them, allow them to roam here and there, and the ideas will come not just in one flash moment, but it will take some time. So just because if someone is actually telling you something out of the moment you ask a question, and if he's doing some coding, means that he already did that code. So in real life, after you recruit that person into a team, are you going to solve the same kind of a problem that what you solved some 2 days before or 3 days before? Every day we are going to have different design of problem. So we have to see whether this person is able to discover a design rather than just to tell you that this is a design that I have discovered already. So which kind of a person you want? That's what the message you want to pass.
Very nice, Raja. I think on that note, we are really out of time for this episode.
501.
Thanks a lot for sharing things very candidly. And I hope that some of our listeners will get back with their points of view.
Correct.
Thanks, Raja.
Thank you. Bye.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.